podcast dedicated to the music, movies, and culture of Generation X.
What is up, Slackers, and welcome to another episode of the Stuck in the Middle podcast. I am your host, Jason Eck, and this is not the topic I was planning on doing tonight. So I, in fact, recorded another episode, an hour-long episode, in fact, with some, well, it was experimentation of trying to use some multimedia to kind of enhance the subject matter. So I'm going to have to redo that entire episode because what I have is garbage. I wanted to have some additional audio, and unfortunately, the audio did not record the way that I had it intended it to. So this is a take two and a little bit of a different topic. But one thing I'm going to talk about right at the beginning of the episode is right now. So thankfully, I haven't been posting a lot of, I haven't been doing the video. And I'm glad tonight because right now my eyes are burning because out here in the Northeast, we have a major pollen issue going on. Now it happens every year, but it is particularly high this year. And tree pollen kicks my butt every year. My eyes are so red and itchy and uncomfortable that it can get to the point where like I'm driving. And if you're driving towards the sun, it's already blinding. And my eyes are like, please, no more. So I'm like blinking, which is great for when you're, recording video. Anyway, my original topic will be rescheduled for next week, and hopefully I will get my technology on point so I don't have such a frustrating evening. So I'm now doing this very, very late in order to go ahead and get it in on time because I have a very busy week ahead of me. I'm fortunate that I've had a long weekend because where I work, we actually got off Friday and Monday, so Easter Monday, and I could have recorded over the weekend, and I should have anyway, but I didn't. Anyway, excuse me, and I didn't cough a single time on that entire other episode, by the way, which in and of itself is a win, but gosh, so frustrating. So instead, I always like to take little snippets of things that are actually happening in modern culture or things that are happening in pop culture in 2023 or whatever it is, and find ways to apply what's currently happening to a topic that is uniquely Gen X. So the topic for this evening is a person who was born in 1964. So that is not, again, depending on your metric for what is Gen X. That is either, in some metrics, the first year that you could be approved as Gen X, or the last year of the boomers. So for the purposes of this podcast, and given the overall body of work of this person, I am proclaiming them to be one of ours. If for no other reason, what does a year make, honestly? Because you're going to be much more contemporary with someone who's born in 65, perhaps. Let's say, depending on when you were born, you were in school with a whole bunch of people who were born in 65. And those were your peers. You relate to them directly. So this person is definitely a honorary, if not actually, Gen Xer. And I'm talking about what can only be described in my opinion, as the greatest actor. Okay, not the greatest actor, but my favorite actor. And in fact, this person is oftentimes considered to be a bad actor, but it also depends on what you are expecting or hoping for in your movies and in your movie stars. And I'm talking about the star of the most recently released, which I have not seen yet, which I'm going to try to find some time to actually go to the movie theater. The star of John Wick #4. I'm talking about the inimitable, legendary, iconic Mr. Keanu Reeves. I have not seen all of Keanu's movies, But the movies that I really like, the ones that he does, are really high on my list. And even the movies that are sometimes considered stinkers, I've really enjoyed. There is such a likability about Keanu Reeves. And I think that extends outward from beyond just the movies. It's everything that we've come to learn about Keanu as a person. He's known to be exceedingly kind, the kind of person who has made millions and millions of dollars, been in huge movies and franchises, yet still treats everyone on set, from the director all the way down to like the 12th grip or the grip's assistant, and treats them with dignity and respect. That is what every human being should get. And he has no airs. He still rides the bus, takes public transit. He gave away so much of his money. He has taken pay cuts on movies to make sure that staff were paid well, giving these amazing gifts to people who worked in various tech roles, just proving time and time again that he's really a class act and a gentleman. And I think what's also so interesting is his very real sense of self, but also a sense of Zen. Because if anyone who knows Keanu Reeves' story, he's also been touched by great tragedy in his life, from the loss of his sister, who he was very, very close to, as well as his longtime significant other, Jennifer Syme. She died at the age of 28 in 2001 in an automobile accident, shortly after they had lost a baby. She lost her child 8 months into the pregnancy. Baby was stillborn. So it says that Symes and Reeves' grief over the loss put a strain on their relationship, which ended several weeks later, but they remained close after the breakup and were back together by 2001. As I mentioned, the same year that she died. Awful. Absolutely awful. Yet somehow, he has managed to be at ease with it in a way that I think many others would not be. Now, there were some accusations levied at Marilyn Manson, which, Lord knows, he's had plenty. Okay. Plenty. But she was at a party at his house. She was not wearing a seatbelt and intoxicated at the time of the collision. She had been doing cocaine, prescription drugs, all this, and that she had been in treatment for back pain and depression coming from her daughter's death. The pallbearers for her funeral were Keanu Reeves, Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction, Scott Coffey. Is Scott Coffey again? Anthrax guitar player Scott Ian and David Lynch were all pallbearers. And like I said, he hasn't necessarily talked about it a ton, but I think he's handled it as well as anyone, given those circumstances. He lost a long-standing relationship and a child all within a very short period of time. Yet he's never been known for lashing out. Like I said, always been known for being kind, cool, collected, very sensible. And just it never seems to result in like bitterness and, alcohol, drug abuse. So that's all very impressive. And I think that when someone asked him about death, he said, do you believe in an afterlife or all that? And he's like, I don't know. But what I do know is that when you die, the ones who love you will miss you. Just really simple. And I think his view of the world, despite all of this fame and all this wealth, is very rooted. I don't know where that comes from. Some people just have that, I think, innately. But just as a person, I just wanted to start out Keanu Reeves as a person. He also owns a motorcycle company. So he just does like really cool things that he finds interesting. But really, when you talk about Keanu Reeves, also a bass player in his band Dogstar. So he's also a musician. But really, we're talking about his film work. And it is amazing to think that his career goes all the way back to 1985, where he did a short film called One Step Away. And I think many people saw him for the first time in the movie Youngblood in 1986, which was starring Rob Lowe, Cynthia Gibb, and Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze, who would be a co-star later on. But there's a lot of stuff I haven't seen here. He was in River's Edge with Crispin Glover. Kind of dark. I saw it once a million years ago. Don't really remember it. They find a dead body down by the river's edge. And, some have said that Permanent Record was his first big role. I've never seen it. But I think where he really started to get more and more traction was in Dangerous Liaisons, which is, of course, a major period piece with an all-star cast. Glenn Close, John Malkovich, Michelle Pfeiffer, Uma Thurman, Susie Kurtz, Mildred Natwick, Peter Capaldi, and Keanu Reeves. It received 7 nominations at the 61st Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and won Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Costume Design, and Best Production Design. But the Marquise de Merteuil, who plots revenge against her ex-lover, the Comte de Bastide. I don't know how to say French words. I'm American. I'm not even Canadian. Which, by the way, Keanu is also Canadian, and although having had a green card since the 80s, never has become an American citizen. That's just more interesting to me than anything else, since he spends most of his time here in the States. But after Dangerous Liaisons, we of course get the classic time-traveling tale of Bill Preston and Ted Logan. Ted Theodore Logan and Bill Esquire, Bill S. Preston Esquire, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course, along with the great George Carlin, Alex Winter, Keanu Reeves. I have watched this within the last 2 years, I'd say. Certainly when the part 3 came out, we'll talk about that in a minute. But it was this role that somewhat typecast him, yet he came back for another one, right? And then obviously did the third one a couple years ago. And you're like, oh yeah, that's probably the real him. He's kind of an airhead. He's kind of stupid, right? But that's a really clever film. Really enjoyable. Lots of fun. Put them in the Iron Maiden. Excellent. Wild Stallions. And this was really the takeoff point, right? Just him, Alex Winter, really leading the cast. Because in everything else, like he's had some starring roles, but a lot of times supporting acting roles. Here he is, front and center. He's the man. Which then, in 1989, he then follows that up with Parenthood. Think about that cast. Steve Martin, Tom Hulce, Rick Moranis, Martha Plimpton, Keanu Reeves, Jason Robards, Mary Steenburgen, and Diane West. Killer cast, directed by Ron Howard. And obviously that's had such a legacy that it has spawned, a television show. And much of it is based on the family and parenting experiences of the screenwriters, who have had at least 17 children among the 4 of them. And principal photography was filmed in and around Orlando, Florida. I mean, I think if I recall correctly, Keanu Reeves' character is kind of a troubled young man. Let's see if I am correct. Yeah, he is Todd. Um, let's see. Where's Todd? So the youngest daughter, Julia, who's played by Martha Plimpton, she and her boyfriend, Todd, get married. She gets pregnant, and Todd moves into the house. And now it's a matter of, can he grow up, really? You know? And can he be a father? So it says here, Ted reveals his own past involving his abusive father and his determination to not follow in the same path. So he kind of played it straight, but at the same time, there was this kind of, a little bit of the quote unquote Keanu character, for lack of a better term, the Ted, kind of playing it dumb, but also you're starting to see a little bit more of the ability to have some gravitas and some dramatic capability. So then there's I Love You to Death. I don't really remember that one. Kevin Kline, Tracy Ullman, Joan Plowright, River Phoenix, William Hurt, and Keanu Reeves. Also a great cast, but I don't recall ever seeing that. Then we have Tune In Tomorrow. What is this? American comedy directed by John Emile, Peter Falk, Keanu Reeves, and Barbara Hershey. Wow. With a soundtrack composed by Wynton Marsalis. I don't know that I've ever even heard of this one. And apparently it got some decent reviews. Huh. Oh, not really. 50% Rotten Tomatoes, and Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 out of 4. Sometimes we laugh easily, sometimes uncertainly, and sometimes we just look at the screen and wonder why anyone thought that was funny. Okay. Well, that's one way to look at it. I don't remember it. Certainly a blip in history. So it's interesting. He has movies that are like huge that all happen like in the same year. So again, Bill and Ted's same year as Parenthood. Now we have his next, I can't keep saying breakout roles, but he's like one of those characters that, one of those actors who has these gradual like building blocks to the career, right? And he now has his first real action opening, right? Excuse me. So, of course, as Johnny Utah, I mentioned earlier, Patrick Swayze in Point Break. Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, Lori Petty, Gary Busey, with some cameos by people like Flea and Anthony Kiedis. It is a action movie. It's a heist film. It's an FBI thriller. It's also about surfing. It's such a weird mix of things. And someone was like, what if there are these bunch of surfers who are their thrill seekers, and one of the things that they really find could be a big thrill is armed robbery, which then allows them the cash to just go and keep on surfing without having jobs or any other means to support themselves, with Patrick Swayze's character, of course, being, Bodie is very charismatic. He's a charismatic leader, and he demonstrates a certain amount of zen, or he seems to be really mellow. But in fact, there's kind of this rage underneath, right? A lot of rage. But it's also one of Patrick Swayze's best performances, because it seems like he's the wise man, the guru, if you will. He is a violent felon. They play off each other extremely well. And that whole closing scene was like, hey, man, just let me go and surf, And Utah takes off his badge, throws it into the water, he quits because they'd actually become friends while Utah is undercover. Point Break is a classic, didn't need to be remade, but they did. Never saw the remake. I don't know why you would need to. But also in 1991, you have Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Completely underrated. An excellent second installment. Much darker, right? But also you have William Sadler as Death. They play board games. They play board games for basically to decide their fate. So bizarre, but so rad. Such a fun movie. Much darker, like I said, where they're dead and there are they cyborgs, androids, I guess they are. Evil robots, they call them. And you have to have the good robots to beat them. And of course, the princesses, Joanna and Elizabeth. Oh, Station. What a weird movie. But honestly, like the best, I think, in the series. And I don't think people latched onto it. Also, killer soundtrack. Okay. Rock and Roll 2 by Kiss. You have Perfect Crime by Faith No More. Great soundtrack. Check it out. But also in 1991, think about this. 3 movies. Point Break, actioner. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, comedy adventure, kind of absurdist film. And then My Own Private Idaho. Now, this was with River Phoenix, where they became very good friends, if they weren't already. And this was directed by Gus Van Sant, and part of his real breakthrough as a director. And of course, this is about, teenage prostitutes, street hustlers, if you will. There's actually someone else's. Balthazar Getty in this one too. No, Balthazar Getty is in Where the Day Takes You, where he's also a hustler or attempts to be a hustler. But River Phoenix, Keanu Reeves, James Russo. It's Flea is in that as well. Interesting. Jim Caviezel, he's most well known for playing Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, and then that TV show where they Person of Interest, I think it's what it's called. But it's a very small film. So that's the other thing. He goes from big budget action to major comedy sequel to then doing this very small film, budget of $2.5 million, limited box office run, does $8.1 million, but got tons of critical acclaim. And I remember seeing this 91, 92, right around the time it came out, because the performances were known to be pretty strong. And I think one of the first times that it was like, okay, maybe this Keanu kid really can act. But again, what a diverse year for his career. Then we have 1992's Love It or Hate It, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Some have said that Keanu Reeves is actually the problem with this movie. Okay? Gary Oldman as Dracula, Winona Ryder as Mina Harker, Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing, and Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. Now, there is some fantastic dialogue here, I think. And Gary Oldman even said he just wanted to do the movie for the I've traveled oceans of time to find you, or whatever it is. And the relationship with Dracula and Mina, as they put it here, Mina, like many women in the late 1800s, has a lot of repressed sexuality. This is Coppola talking, of course. I don't recall it being... You have such a master at work with Coppola and Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman with the kind of new blood no pun intended, vampires involved, of Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. This is where Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves got very close. Winona Ryder found the intensity of Oldman's acting style too much, and the two fell out early in the filming process and had difficulty working together from then on. But yeah, the critical reception was that Gary Oldman was fantastic and that Winona Ryder was very, very good. But some said that considered Keanu's performance to be weak. And that one reviewer actually said Reeves was described as having been out of his depth and frequently blasted off the screen by Gary Oldman. And Total Film writer Nathan Ditum includes Reeves in his 2010 countdown of 29 worst movie miscastings, describing him as a dreary, milky nothing, a black hole of sex and drama. How dare you, sir? Someone wrote, you can visibly see Keanu Reeves attempting not to end every one of his lines with dude. Bullshit. Okay? Bullshit. Now, it says, Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins, the two Oscar nominees, ran circles around the poor Canuck, exposing his lack of range, shoddy accent, and abysmal instincts for all to see. Okay, Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins are masters, like absolute masters, okay? And I will concede that Keanu's British accent is rough, but they're saying apart from a California surfer dude, he's Canadian, not Californian. He's not a surfer. I guess he did actually surf a little bit, but I think that that's a little harsh. But nevertheless, classic film. And I think there's just way too much of that. Like saying the whole dude thing. Oh, he's trying not to say dude. That is typecasting to such a level where you're actually just in your own head saying, oh, every time Keanu speaks, he wants to say, whoa, or dude. That's just not fair. But of course, it doesn't help any that his next film was Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, directed by Kenneth Branagh, right? You have Emma Thompson, Robert Sean Leonard, Denzel Washington, Michael Keaton, Keanu Reeves, and Kate Beckinsale in her film debut. Let's see. Anything ripping Keanu in this? No. Isn't that nice? But it does say that the film cements Branagh's status as a great director of Shakespeare and perhaps of film in general as well. Well, yeah, he did Thor. Of course, Rolling Stone's Peter Travers, most of the negative criticisms focused on particular casting choices, notably Keanu Reeves as Don John and Michael Keaton as Dogberry. Well, you're just a hater. And then Reeves received a Golden Raspberry nomination for Worst Supporting Actor. See, I just remembered this phase of Keanu's career and just taking hits. Now, he's done Shakespeare multiple times at various different stages in his career. I guess maybe it is his vocal tone. It's so difficult to say because I actually think that so I don't believe that he's just Keanu Reeves in every movie. I don't. I think he is very different in many of his films. And that's not taken into account enough. So then he follows up with Even Cowgirls, Get the Blues. I remember that. Another Gus Van Sant joint. Freaked. I don't remember that one. An American comedy directed by Tom Stern and Alex Winter. Of course, his buddy. And it's originally conceived as a low-budget horror film featuring the band the Butthole Surfers, which eventually was turned into a black comedy set within a sideshow. Brooke Shields is in this. Wow. William Sadler again. Randy Quaid. So interesting. Mr. T. Bobcat Goldthwait. I have never seen this. Now I need to see this. And Keanu is in it as Ortiz the dog boy in an uncredited role. Wow, that is an interesting description. Little Buddha, I remember it coming out. It wasn't something I was particularly interested in at the time, but it stars an interesting cast of Chris Isaac, Bridget Fonda, and Keanu Reeves as Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha before his enlightenment. Siddhartha is a hell of a book, by the way. What is that, Herman Hesse? Did he do Siddhartha? Or am I getting that completely wrong? This was not my topic, but now I just have to remember who wrote that little sucker. Let's see. Topics. The novel. Herman Hesse. Okay, just needed to be sure. Needed to demonstrate that I was at least semi-literate. So again, all right, so this is what I mean. It's like this path of like ups and downs. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this little movie, and I'm going to do this weirdo flick over here. I'm coming off of working with Coppola, and then I'm doing Shakespeare. But then his next big breakthrough, like I said, it's always like a new breakthrough. Speed is Officer Jack Traven, along with, Jeff Daniels and Sandra Bullock. Dennis Hopper is the bad guy. The premise is a bus that has been rigged by a terrorist to explode if the speed falls below 50 miles an hour. It is nonstop. And the interplay between Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, and of course with Dennis Hopper is phenomenal. It's very gimmicky, but it also works. It really does work. Sandra Bullock, she gets in there, she's going to drive. And he was now, once again, he already did Point Break, and it's like, did everyone remember, forget that he's actually done action before? Because I remember people like, oh, wow, Keanu Reeves, he's like a legitimate, action movie star. Well, yeah, he's already done that before. But I guess it was a matter of the box office, right? So let's see. Point Break had a budget of $24 million and did a box office of $83.5 million. Speed had a budget of $30 to $37 million, did $350.4 million at the box office. So that's what this was. This was the big box office, right? This was the cementing Keanu Reeves as the leading man of big budget films. And it's a great movie. It's a great movie. And for all the talk of his ability to, have some gravitas, some meat on the bone, to be a credible, masculine superhero kind of thing. He does this very, very well. I think Speed's excellent, and it's unfortunate that they couldn't get him to come back, but he was like, so wait a minute. It's basically going to be the same movie on a boat. I don't blame him for not wanting to do it. Next was 1995's Johnny Mnemonic. This was also interesting because it was based on a William Gibson story. And William Gibson did a lot of the cyberpunk, cybernetics, computer networks, all that kind of stuff. Really ahead of its time. And this ended up doing, $26 million budget, $52 million at the box office. So big vehicle, kind of came up short. I have seen it. It wasn't great. It says here, as narratively misguided as it is woefully miscast. Yikes. That is harsh. McCarthy, there's a reviewer, says that Reeves' character to be unlikable and one-dimensional. And another said, although that Reeves is not a good actor, but he's still enjoyable to watch and makes for a compelling protagonist. See, everyone is very confused by him. They talk about Reeves' wooden delivery gives the film unintentional humor. I just really feel like they don't get it. You know? Dolph Lundgren's in that too. Keanu Reeves, Dolph Lundgren, Takeshi Kitano, Ice-T, Dina Meyer. Ice-T. So then we have A Walk in the Clouds. Gosh, I remember that. Every time I see the cover, the movie poster, I'm like, oh my gosh. I did not watch this one. Directed by Alfonso Aro. Did okay at the box office for a littler type of film, more dramatically based, $20 million budget, $91 million at the box office. Chain Reaction. That's with Morgan Freeman, Rachel Weisz, Fred Ward, Kevin Dunn, and Brian Cox. I don't remember exactly. Feeling Minnesota, which was Keanu Reeves, Vincent D'Onofrio, Cameron Diaz, Tuesday Weld, Dan Aykroyd, and Delroy Lindo. I know that I've seen it because I remember at the time, because Feeling Minnesota, that's a lyric from Soundgarden. I'm looking California, but feeling Minnesota. I don't remember the movie. Never even heard of Last Time I Committed Suicide. No idea what that is. Devil's Advocate is Kevin Lomax. So this is Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino and Charlize Theron. Dark. Very disorienting, right? Purposely. Because anyone who doesn't know, the Devil's Advocate is Al Pacino is the devil at a very high-powered law firm. Because, devil, lawyer, right? Same thing. And trying to get a child molester off. Like, that's his job as a defense attorney. Despite this, while defending school teacher Lloyd Geddes against a charge of child molestation, he realizes his client is guilty. Despite this, Kevin destroys the victim's credibility, securing a not guilty verdict. Right? So he ends up getting offered a high-powered job because he has obviously kind of sacrificed a little bit of himself to get the job done. But it gets very, very dark from there. And $57 million budget, $153 million at the box office. And let's see here. Critical response. Mixed or average reviews. But some said that a gratifyingly light touch, gimmicks that were well tethered to reality. And one, David Denby wrote, preposterously entertaining, and predicted it would get viewers debating. Or, as it was said in Entertainment Weekly, is that one silly, overwrought, and almost embarrassingly entertaining, and credited Pacino for his performance. So nothing particularly finding Reeves credible and Pacino delicious. So nothing negative there, and it did good box office. It's an interesting movie, but like I said, it is very dark, and it is considered horror because there are definitely some grim, horrific scenes, and certainly whenever you have the devil as one of your main characters, it's inevitably going to go that way. Just like to say that it's Pacino being the devil here because you had Robert De Niro playing the devil in, with Lisa Bonet and Mickey Rourke, Devil's Heart. So two of the greatest actors of their generation both had their turn as the devil. And now we've arrived. So again, broken record on this one. He's had some hits, right? He's established himself. He now gets the big paycheck. He gets the starring role. And then he gets this script for this movie called The Matrix. $63 million budget, 467.2 at the box office for the original 1999 The Matrix. Nothing looked like The Matrix at the time. Nothing had a feel like The Matrix at the time. It was telling so many different stories and creating a mythology. Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves, they are magical together. Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, Hugo Weaving as the agents. Mr. Anderson, your species. It's so good. And Joe Pantoliano as the big jerk dummy who just, I know it's not really steak. All he wanted was a steak. He wanted to get plugged back in. But this is cyberpunk. It is live action anime. It is like Ghost in the Machine. You have bullet time, these spectacular visuals. You also have components of like the Terminator, because obviously Skynet wins and the machines have taken over the Earth. And I'm going to just say the whole the Matrix franchise, including the most recent release, which I thought was excellent. It got mixed reviews. I understand the complaints of not having Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus. I fully do. The way that they did it, though, I didn't hate it because he was also kind of like reincarnated or rebooted, right? His particular program was redone. They did a nice job with it. But really, the whole Matrix series, I mean, I guess Reloaded, was that the second one? I actually think that was probably the weakest one. I think Revolutions was really good. And then what was the other one? Resurrections. I liked Resurrections personally. I really did enjoy it. But now it's gone from, hey, he's a star, to he is a superstar. And he now has another franchise. So bear in mind, he could have had one already with Speed, right? He had one with Bill and Ted's. He got a couple out of it and then did one later on. But I mean, he reasonably had at least one more franchise in there, and he didn't take Speed. But Matrix goes on to become legendary, probably one of the greatest, not probably, one of the greatest sci-fi franchises ever. So well written, so clever, so unique, but also fully rooted in your basic Judeo-Christian kind of like backgrounds, a Messiah-like character. Every trope in that book was there. Trinity, I mean, come on, Neo. It's so good, so clever. And my oldest, I think, is the only one right now who's seen any of them. He saw the first one, and he's like, this is really freaking good. I'm like, I am well aware. He then did one of my favorite comedies, one of my favorite sports comedies. I love The Replacements. I love it. It's so fun. Gene Hackman, Brooke Langton, Rhys Ifans, he's the kicker. I know I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Rhys Ifans. Yeah, I said Ifans. Jon Favreau, major director and writer, and Jack Warden in his last film appearance. And it's about a player strike. And they have to go ahead and they get the scabs, the ringers. They bring them in, Washington Sentinels, and Keanu Reeves. Shane Falco. He has the best names for his characters, honestly. Former All-American from Ohio State, whose career went to pieces after a lopsided Sugar Bowl loss. But, Johnny Utah, Shane Falco, quarterbacks, career didn't end great. So fun. And Keanu Reeves is great in this. He's great in this. And like I've said throughout this whole thing, I feel like he does legitimately play different characters, but people just see Keanu and they just automatically assume that it's just the same thing. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. The Watcher, I've heard good things about. I have not seen it. But that's with James Spader, Marissa Tomei, and Keanu Reeves. That one I should probably watch. The Gift. Oh, that's Sam Raimi. I never saw it. Written by Billy Bob Thornton and Tom Epperson, starring Cate Blanchett, Keanu Reeves, Giovanni Ribisi, Hilary Swank, Katie Holmes, and Greg Kinnear. What a great cast. I don't even remember hearing about this. Huh. Well, I'm going to add it to the queue. Katie Holmes, Gary Cole. What a great cast. J.K. Simmons. Holy cow. Well, I'm adding that to the list, people. So The Gift, 2000. Well, not The Gift 2000, like the year was 2000. Sweet November, 2001, considered to be exploitative, as it's the story of falling in love with a woman who is terminal. Yeah, it was a tough watch. I mean, I know what they were going for, but it is meant specifically to make you feel bad. Honestly. This is a great review, though. This is Roger Ebert. It passes off pathological behavior as romantic bliss. It's about two sick and twisted people playing mind games and calling it love. Wow. Harsh. I didn't think it was that bad, but I do understand why it would be considered emotionally manipulative. Still, it's not a bad watch because they're two really good actors. So again, I think he's a good actor, and Charlize Theron is an amazing actress. Anyway, Hardball. I didn't see that one. Diane Lane and D.B. Sweeney. What a great little cast that is. Okay, I'll check that out. Then we had The Matrix Reloaded, The Animatrix, Matrix Revolutions. Wow, this came out right back to back. Something's Gotta Give. Wait. I don't remember him being in that. Diane Keaton, Keanu Reeves, Amanda Peet, Frances McDormand, Paul Michael Glaser, Jon Favreau, and Katie Strickland. I know I've seen that movie, but who knows? Maybe I was drunk. I'm going to have to watch that too. What a great cast. Oh, John Constantine. Kind of underrated. Now, as a Constantine fan, I hated the fact that Keanu did not commit to dyeing his hair blonde. And they did make him American. And John Constantine is a Brit. And that's all there is to it. Should have been blonde, but they had the whole cancer angle and like the cigarettes and all that. But the movie itself, I thought was really good. With Tilda Swinton, right? Yeah, Tilda Swinton. She was, the devil. Damon Hunsu is in this. Gavin Rossdale. I forgot Gavin Rossdale from Bush was in this. Oh, Peter Stormare. He is amazing. He is amazing in everything. And also is in another vehicle for Keanu Reeves that we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. But I think he's most well known for Fargo. I liked Constantine, though. But I really do like the Ryan, what's his first name? The guy who has played Constantine on the TV show and the DC universe on the TV. Matt Ryan, I think. He's an excellent Constantine, but I enjoyed Keanu's take on it. You make an American, he did just fine. Thumbsucker, don't know that one. Ellie Parker, don't know that one. A Scanner Darkly, okay, that's Richard Linklater. Yes, Richard Linklater, based upon a novel by Philip K. Dick, who's also, Blade Runner and stuff like that. This is rotoscoped, if I remember correctly, and it's about Substance D, a powerful drug that causes bizarre hallucinations that has swept the country. I have never seen it. I've heard so many good things about it. But it's Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, Winona Ryder, Steven Soderbergh, and George Clooney were executive producers. It's definitely, let's see, Linklater can be hit or miss. It lost money. Well, I shouldn't say it lost money. It didn't cover its cost, at least not domestically. Had an $8.7 million budget, and the box office was $7.7 million. I think it was mostly regarded for its visuals, but the story wasn't really as well regarded. But what a great cast, and I should probably watch it. Just if nothing else, to have said I've seen it at least once. The Lake House. That is an American fantasy romance with Sandra Bullock. Huh. I didn't know they did another movie together. Like I said, I'm a fan of Keanu Reeves, but I'm far from having watched every single movie that he's done. The Great Warming, the documentary. I don't know, some climate change thing. We have Street Kings. David Ayer. How do I not know this one? I know David Ayer. This is Keanu Reeves, Forrest Whitaker, Hugh Laurie, Chris Evans, Common in the Game. What? What year is this? Oh, yeah. I had kids. I was so out of touch with everything that was happening in movies around this time. No clue. After my oldest was born in 2005, I did not know anything that was going on. And I think the only movie I saw in the movie theater, that if it wasn't a kid's movie, the only one I saw was if Star Wars came out, I would go to the Star Wars movies and the first Avatar. Other than that, I never went to the movies. And frankly, I wasn't watching conventional TV, so I didn't even know what was being advertised. The Day the Earth Stood Still, I have seen it. I don't remember it having a particularly strong impact on me, so I don't really remember, but I do know that's a great cast. Private Lives of Pippa Lee, no idea what that is. Henry's Crime? Nope. James Caan is in that. Side by Side, it's a documentary. Generation Oh my gosh. What a great name. Plus it's Keanu Reeves. So Justin Chang of Variety called it slap together sub-mumblecore exercise that at times suggests a feature-length expansion of 2010 sad Keanu meme. Just because the characters wasted our time doesn't mean you should waste yours watching them circle in the drain. Wow. Okay. Well, maybe not high on the list. Like his filmography here has grown so much. It looks like he just started to work quite a bit. Like he's always working. Like doesn't look like really much of time off. A little bit after the loss of his baby and his ex. But here we are, Man of Tai Chi, which he directed, which I still haven't seen the whole thing. I've just seen some fight sequences. So I should go back and revisit that one. 47 Ronin, I liked it. I thought it was really, really fun. Directed by Carl Rinch. What an ending. Not to give anything away, but yeah, when it comes to an end, it comes to an end. Let's see. It was... It also did not make its money back. Had a budget of possibly up to $225 million, and it only made 151.8. But I remember seeing it on demand later on, my stepdad and I watching it and thinking, this is kind of fun. It doesn't really have anything meaningful here. Anyway, said that he was the big cost. So now we have 2014. And this is where stuff starts getting good again. John Wick. Here we are. John Wick. I cannot even begin to describe what that movie is like, particularly when you see it for the first time. Because here is something so completely over the top, yet completely relatable. You know, for anyone who hasn't seen it, sorry, spoilers. The guy loses his wife. And that's all you know at the beginning. He's just a guy. He's got a nice house, nice car, and his wife dies. And a dog is delivered to him, a puppy. And the puppy is a gift from beyond the grave. So his wife knew she was dying. A couple days, or like the day of her funeral, this little puppy gets delivered. And now he's smitten. This is his dog. And some bad Russians, such a trope, such a meme, honestly, played by, oh my gosh, Alfie Allen, who is, I think, most well known for being on Game of Thrones as Theon Greyjoy. But he decides to kind of start some trouble, which results in the dog getting killed. And the dog, which was his John Wick's, last gift from the beyond the grave from his wife who had passed away, and he just snaps and then proceeds to kill a lot of people, including Alfie Allen's character, which instead, of course, then begets multiple sequels. And like the continuing story of, the head of the table, which is the basically the head honchos of this collection of assassins that has a network running all throughout the world. John Wick is like no other. I have seen, like, of movies that have come out in the modern era, as far as rewatchability. So of course I watch, the Star Wars movies regularly. Okay. Of the movies that I've watched multiple times outside of the original trilogy and then the prequel trilogy, I've watched Rogue One quite a bit. I've watched Last Jedi quite a bit. Not Last Jedi. Oh gosh, what is it called? The Force Awakens. Rogue One I've watched a ton, but I've watched John Wick, any one of them, and Mad Max, Fury Road. But like the John Wicks and the Mad Max, top of my list, infinitely rewatchable. And I think that this is Keanu at his best. Because it's deep, it's heavy, but it's also just ultra violent. And I think he's tremendous. Knock Knock, I haven't seen. An erotic psychological thriller directed by Eli Roth. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't myself seen it. Because I've only recently kind of gotten back into horror. But I definitely need to check that one out. Let's see. Deep Web, The Untold Story of Bitcoin and Silk Road. He's the narrator. Mifune, The Last Samurai, narrator. Exposed? What is that? Ana de Armas and Keanu Reeves. No idea. Keanu, that's a comedy with Keegan-Michael Kay and Jordan Peele. And they have was it a cat or a dog named, Keanu. Neon Demon? What is this? No clue what Neon Demon is. Carl Glusman, Jenna Malone, Bella Heathcote, Abby Lee, Desmond Harrington, Christina Hendricks, and Keanu Reeves. No clue what that is. Amazon Studios? Huh. Didn't even know it was a thing. The Bad Batch? So this is not the Disney Star Wars. Yeah, I don't know about that one either. Jason Momoa is in it. The Whole Truth? What are all these movies? Are they all like direct to video? It has box office, but like really small numbers. Renee Zellweger, Jim Belushi. Jim Belushi? What a weird cast. To the Bone. John Wick Chapter 2, SPF 18. What is that? Romantic comedy. Coming of age romantic comedy. Okay. Weird. Molly Ringwald, Rosanna Arquette, and narrated by Goldie Hawn? What madness is this? Siberia. Destination Wedding. Hey, that's when he reteams with Winona Ryder, but it's like romantic comedy, and I don't really watch those. So I think I just have to for the fact that there's two of them together. You know what? I think Maggie and I watched that. Anyway, Replicas. Don't know what that is. It also became a box office bomb. Well, okay then. John Wick Chapter 3, not a bomb, kick-ass, $75 million budget, $327 million at the box office. Oh, Toy Story 4, he is Duke Kaboom. He is the Evel Knievel type character, and he's excellent. He's excellent. So fun. Between Two Ferns, the movie. SpongeBob, the movie. Sponge on the Run. Oh, my gosh. Bill and Ted Face the Music. I thought it was really a fun revisit of the characters. Here they are in middle age. Matrix Resurrections. Back as Neo. Oh my gosh, Neil Patrick Harris. I think he's really quite good in that. I like his character a lot. DC League of Super Pets is Bruce Wayne. I saw that just the other day at the hospital with my son. He's fine. He was there for a procedure and it takes a couple of hours. So we typically watch a movie. He was great as Batman. He's like, I'm Batman. Except it's like Keanu, he didn't say whoa, I don't think. And then finally, John Wick Chapter 4. Currently in theaters. The latest installment. And so far, so it was released just recently, March 6th, 2023, about a month ago, and budget of $100 million, recouped $270.5 million, and it's still in theaters. It got delayed here in the States for a little while. At least I thought so. Yeah, $270 million worldwide, so it has made its money and more, and John Wick is a durable character. So his franchises, you have Ted from Bill and Ted, you have John Wick, and you have Neo. And he could have had a fourth with Speed, but chose not to. Anyway, I just needed to have another topic, and I really enjoy Keanu Reeves movies. He is ageless. He is timeless. He's a better actor than he's given credit for, because pretty much even in the bad movies, he's still likable. He's still enjoyable. And I think he's going to be looked at favorably 25, 50, 100 years from now. And many of his best movies will be fondly remembered and are legendary and are classic. And there is no Hall of Fame for actors. At least I don't think there is. Yes, you can win an Oscar, but I doubt he's ever going to win an Oscar. Maybe he will in his older age and he gets one of those roles that comes, drops into his lap. He just knocks out of the park. But he's an icon of cinema. He is a legend and he is a force to be reckoned with. And by the way, he can handle all those weapons. He can do so many of the fight sequences on his own. And he is a national treasure, whether it is American or Canadian. I still look at him as one of our own. Not only that, I also consider him a Gen Xer and certainly a huge part, I think, for many of us, for our movie watching pleasures. He's been a big part of it. So here is to Keanu Charles Reeve. Not Reeves. I said Reeve because you get Christopher Reeve, George Reeves, Keanu Reeves, Keanu Charles Reeves, age 58, born 1964. You are a legend. And as far as I'm concerned, he can do no wrong, even when he does some terrible movies. So that's it. Keanu Reeves, thank you so much. Next week, I will drop the well, re-record and drop the episode that I planned on doing this evening, which will have some multimedia elements that I think you'll really enjoy. So tell me, what do you think of Keanu Reeves? Well, Reeves, what are your favorite movies? Great actor, bad actor, the best bad actor, the worst good actor, however way you want to put it, please let me know. You can contact me at stuckinthemiddlepod@yahoo.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at StuckPodX. And the YouTube page now says Stuck in the Middle, a Gen X podcast, but it can be found at StuckPodX. Head over to the Facebook page, Stuck in the Middle, a Gen X podcast. I would ask that you please leave 5-star reviews, like, comment, share, and most importantly, please subscribe to the podcast. So until next time, later, slackers.